Chocolate City Candy. Just a taste of you makes my life so complete. Learning to love you is a special treat. The little loving things you do forever makes you honey sweet. Your good and plenty loving just knocks me off my feet. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl. My M&M plain, Chocolate City Candy Girl. My lifetime lifesaver, Fifth Avenue, Lovers Lane Park. My buttered finger, whatchamacallit, such sweetness in the dark. Now and later, you'll always be my Mary Jane, my baby Ruth. My mounds of almond joy, chocolate honey sweet tooth. Let me be your payday, sugar daddy galore. You're 100 grand, Mr. Goodbye for sure. When you turn on your total Tootsie Roll charms, your chocolate cherry kisses make me melt in your arms. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl. My M&M plain, Chocolate City Candy Girl. Hi, this is Danny Queen, and welcome to another exciting edition of Color Me Poetry. I'd like to welcome our most illustrious guest, Miss Wendy Hill.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks
and
so
Wendy,
much.
you're very motivated by many different things, and you're a motivational speaker, and you enjoy motivation and that type of thing,
Yes.
positive thinking. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Wendy Hill, of course, as Danny has already said. I represent 20th Century Partners. I've gotten into motivational speaking based on a lot of different people, Charles Scott, Joe Dudley, just different people who I were here in the course of conducting business. I also believe that being motivated will help you in your life. I like working with children. I realize in today's society that they're not motivated enough. The self-image is not up. The ability to know that they have the power to do whatever it is that they like to do. So I channel that energy dealing with a lot of children to tap into that part of them that most people won't get into.
Why are you inspired by Mr. Joe Dudley? First, let's tell a little bit about who Mr. Joe Dudley is.
Mr. Joe Dudley is a gentleman who owns Dudley Products, black hair care products. And he's a very sincere person. He doesn't have elaborate background as far as being well-educated, quote-unquote, degrees.
Started with $10.
So started with $10.
Multimillionaire.
Multi-millionaire. Very calm, very, how can I put it? He's very uplifting, just to sit there and hear him speak. He was graded as illiterate, you know, when he was younger.
They said he was retarded.
Retarded, yeah. What, like a 5th grade or 7th grade education,
that's right.
max. And he just expanded his talents and abilities, channeling that energy towards positive motivation, thinking, and realizing that there is something he can do. So I enjoy hearing him.
Another thing that really impressed me with Mr. Dudley is that he gives away some 30, I think it's some 30, scholarships to black students, fully paid 4-year scholarships each year.
Yes.
And out of Greensboro, North Carolina, they have a big program every year. And he's doing a lot of good things in the community. Matter of fact, Mr. Dudley once said in one of his lectures, he said, a lot of these folks that y'all think are so great and y'all looking up to all that stuff, think they got 3 and 4 heads. He said, them folk ain't got no 2 and 3 heads. They got one head, just like everybody else.
Yes.
And they got 24 hours in a day, just like everybody else has. So it's how you use your time, really.
Yes, and that's very important. Time is very important. How you use it and using it efficiently. Simply because, just like you said, everyone has the same amount of time, the same amount of the same air that you breathe, I breathe, the same streets you walk, I can walk. Therefore, people are under some illusion that this person is great, they're doing something different, but it's the discipline that they've gone through.
That discipline is very important, though.
Yes.
But I think that discipline also, Wendy, has to start at a young age. Because how can we discipline our children if we don't discipline ourselves?
That is true. However, I do believe that you can tap into discipline with other people's views. Because a lot of us may not have gotten a discipline at a younger age. But it all depends on who you look on to as a role model or figure out that is doing something great. Discipline, in my opinion, is your health. What you eat, how you eat it, and digestion, knowing your body, being disciplined with exercises and things of that nature, being active, also being able to be disciplined on what to say, when to say it, and things of that nature.
So discipline covers a whole spectrum of many different things. Let's talk about a second, let's put a pin there, because I want to talk about discipline as far as not just mental discipline, but physical discipline, and, you know, and diet and that kind of thing. How important is that? Because they say, you know, what you eat, you are what you eat, that kind of thing.
I love Minister Louis Farrakhan because he's a great motivational speaker, and I listen to him and listen to a lot of tapes that he has done, and one of the things I like is they're really heavy on what you eat.
Yes.
You know, the body, the digestive system.
No pork.
No pork. No pork whatsoever. Beef, you know, they're heavy with
Lamb.
natural foods.
Fish.
You know, fish, lamb, and they're very, very, their skin, you can walk down the street and you can tell a Muslim brother
From
that's
anybody
really
else.
serious. Skin complexion is very pretty, clear, and, you know, healthy.
And you know something else I noticed? You can see some of the Muslim brothers, like, you know, they're out selling the paper, the final call, on the street in July. And with their suit cut off, and they're not sweating.
And that's
they're not
sweating with the ties on. Yes.
I think that has a lot to do with the diet also.
I believe so, too.
And what they believe as far as diet. But they've always stressed diet, and they've always stressed economics. I know as a child growing up, I mean, they came around with the bean pie, the newspapers, the fish, and all that.
Yes.
So I saw that as a child. I always saw entrepreneurship. I always saw that.
That's true. That's one thing I like about them is they market their own things. You know, they really get out there and put themselves on the line.
They believe it, and they push themselves.
Yeah, not that many people are interested in putting themselves on the line. You know, the self-image. Those brothers have a great self-image to actually go out there, and they're always excited. You know, Farrakhan, Farrakhan. Like to have a final call, final call.
Well, that's at the metro stations and all.
Yes.
But that's very important too, because your self-image. If you don't have a proper self-image, then I mean, you're going to be warped in a sense.
It's always important of how you see yourself and how you can project yourself to other people. Everyone are interested in knowing, how did this person see me to be? You know,
and how you see yourself.
and how you see yourself to be.
I know Tony Brown once said, if you don't know who you are, somebody will tell you who you are. And that's the worst thing you could have.
That's exactly true. That's
You know, somebody telling you who you are. If you don't know, then anything, it's like a baby born into the world. The mind is open, it's fresh, it's like a sponge, it's taking in everything. And if you don't have a self-image, a concept of yourself, somebody will put one there. And it may not be to your benefit.
That's true.
So that motivation is always important.
Yes.
What would you say to young people who
I
are
would say
coming
to
up?
young people, do a lot of background reading of history, because that there will install in you that it can be done, that has already been done in a different way. Also, to read as much positive things that you can, get involved with the community, positively involved. Genuinely start working on helping other people. You know, being sincere about what can I do for this elder woman, can I run to the store for you, things of that nature, because it brings within you that self-image. It builds you up to really thinking I'm somebody, you know, knowing more about yourself.
And there's another gentleman that you're inspired by, Mr. Charles Scott.
Yes, Mr. Charles Scott is a wonderful person. I represented Charles Scott organization for about 3 years, and I take my hat off to him because he is very, very
young man, doing great
young,
things.
nice-looking guy who inspire a lot of black people, and his words are just so deep and sincere, and he practiced what he preaches. So I really think that he's a great person.
He said he's a country boy.
Country boy, young countryman coming up to the city. Yes, that's true.
Sometimes you find people who we think of, you know, sometimes we think people have to have, and I'm not knocking education, formal education, it has its place, but sometimes we think all learning has to take place in a classroom.
No, I don't agree with that, and you're exactly right. I've had formal education in classroom. However, I found that the education that really works with me out in the, you know, real world is that discipline, that education dealing with a person on an individual basis, or groups and seminars, you know, actually relating to a person, being real, not so political and diplomatic, you know.
That's very important also. You know, that brings me to a short poem that I like to read, and it's simply entitled Conscious Control, because it talks about education and the way we view education. Conscious Control, a tribute to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Trapped and trained to think with somebody else's mind, caught up in the method of the madness by master design, MAs, JDs, and MSs, an MBA and a PhD. Without the knowledge of self, don't mean a thing to me. It's all ignorant academics at its best, and like the educated fool, full of BS. Highly miseducated misfits will keep you chained and bound, and every time you try to get up, they'll pull you back down. Symptoms of the sickness of the soul is simply miseducation by conscious control.
All right, that's excellent.
So I just wanted to say in that piece, you know, about education, the way we view education sometimes. It's nice to have degrees and go to school, but if you're working for somebody else all the time, you got all the degrees. If you can do that for all the major Fortune 500 corporations, why can't you do that for yourself?
That's so important. I think that if anyone that was going to spend the money and the time to go to college or university and get these degrees, that they owe it to themselves to go out there and pave the way and open up something on their own.
And when you help other people, you help yourself also.
Exactly.
So that's very important.
The process of growing, helping others. What can you do to help other people? Just talking about what you just mentioned, you know, that brings us to the right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, dealing with
terrible situation.
Yeah,
You know, a travesty of justice, you know, if you will, to think about, you know, the system in which we live. We don't have justice. Well, I mean, sometimes people ask me, well, what is the relationship, you know, of blacks and whites, I mean, race relations? I said, well, it is what it's always been.
That's
a
right.
travesty of justice, a disaster. That's what it's always been, because we haven't worked, as a society, we haven't worked to make it any better.
Exactly.
You know, so we go through these phases, you know, of, well, we hit the civil rights and this and that, but it's the same thing. The same condition. Anytime you have a people that's oppressed, and we see people on the news saying, well, you know, why are these folks burning down their own places and all that? Well, the level of frustration is there.
The
It's always been there.
and the effect. There's a cause and there's always an effect. And
But we look at the symptoms.
Right. But the effect is how they deal with their frustrations, how they letting it out.
And it's negative, and we know it's negative.
It's negative.
But it's there.
That's their way of expressing themselves. Not only that, but I think if they can channel that same energy, because that's energy, a lot of energy, and togetherness and power, then they can see within what they're doing that there's other things they can do in positive ways.
You know, I was watching one of the talk shows the other day. I'm not going to mention the name of it because it's not important.
Okay.
But this lady who said, well, you know, I don't understand why these people are carrying on like this. You know, why they're doing this and all of that. And not really understanding that, you know, this is a level of frustration. Say that, you know, they're violent. But the first violent act was when the police did what they did to Mr. King. That was the first violent act.
Yes.
And the second one was when the jury dismissed it.
The cause and the the effect, what they've done behind that. Yes.
And that's just, well, you know, there's a universal law that says for every action,
there's a reaction.
there it is. And sometimes people don't understand that reaction because it's violent and emotional. But I say that we have to do more than be violent. Of course, do more than violent and be emotional.
Right.
But you have to have a response that's going to be negative.
This is just the beginning. It's going to bring together a lot of people, and I do believe that once it's over with, that they'll be able to channel that reaction into something really positive and realize
and grow
that
from it.
Now we need to do something about the situation. We've already channeled the energy, we upset, we let the frustration out. Now what are we going to do about it? You know, actually getting actively involved positively, you know.
And having plans to do things that will uplift the nation, because America hasn't been all that it could be.
No, it hasn't. No.
I remember a piece from Langston Hughes where he said, America never was America to me.
That's heavy.
I was very inspired, you know, by the writings of Langston Hughes, because he wrote in the 1920s and during the Harlem Renaissance. There was a lot of things happening. I mean, there was a new renaissance of black artists doing and saying many different things, not only in the visual arts, but in poetry and music. Many things were happening, and Hughes was one of the major writers that came out of that era. And his writing wasn't violent. It was he celebrated life.
He expressed himself.
He expressed himself, and he wasn't angry in that way, but he always had a message in his writings. I remember the tales of Simple, Jesse B. Simple. Jesse B. Simple was a character. I guess the average person, the average Joe, I might say the average Joe six-pack that you meet in the street, you know, the average Joe that you meet in the street. The language that he used and the way he talked about life in Harlem, the life of the black people in which he loved so much, had to express through this one character. And sometimes some of the things that Simple says through his characterization are so witty and down to earth that it really makes you laugh, but it makes you think at the same time.
That's really
important.
touching the people then, because he really went straight for it.
There's something that you want to share with us? A piece that you wanted to share, a motivational piece?
Yeah, I represented VS&J, which is an enterprise. Anita Jackson, she's the president of this enterprise, which was a speech contest.
Something like Toastmasters?
Yes, sort of like Toastmasters, black organization. And she's a wonderful person. I've worked with Anita for a couple of events. And it allowed me to get up and express myself and speak on what success meant to me. And some of the things that I mentioned within a speech was that being successful is not easy. You know?
Can I hold you right here? We're going to take a break. We're going to pick up this when we come back. This is Color Me Poetry. I'm Danny Queen. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Danny Queen, and welcome back to another edition Color Me Poetry, and we're here with Miss Wendy here. Wendy, before we took the break, you were telling us about success and what success means to you.
Yes. What success means to me is being excited about your God-given talents and abilities and using that energy to channel it in whatever it is you want to do in life. Success means to realize who your spiritual God is, realize what it is that you want to do in the community, uplifting people, also being excited, make sure you have those affirmations, positive affirmations to keep you going, because being successful is not easy. I think it's more easier not being successful, because it seems comfortable.
I would say success teaches you how to celebrate life,
Yes.
if you will.
It takes you out the comfort zone for sure.
That's what Dudley said.
As we mentioned, time being very important. You'll realize that you don't have a lot of time. Being successful gets you to understand that there's no time to waste for anything. I mean, everything is very important. You learn to appreciate the weather, the time, the atmosphere. You just
things.
really, little things are very important. You start to appreciate those things.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Then what books would you recommend?
Oh, I really like the book, which is called Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And then they had the new one about, Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice.
Napoleon Hill and Dennis
Napoleon
Kimbrough.
Hill, yes, Dennis Kimbrough. I like the book that talks about, it's called, let me think of it.
It slips your mind.
Yeah, it slips my mind, I'm sorry.
I was trying to think of one, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that Mr. Dudley highly recommends.
Okay, I haven't read that one just yet. Yeah.
You were mentioning earlier about Mr. Charles Scott. Tell us a little bit about who Mr. Charles Scott is.
Mr. Charles Scott is a motivational speaker, but he also has an organization that sells insurance in the Washington, D.C. area. And what he does is he
A lot of young people.
heads up the organization, get them motivated and excited, teach them the principles of life and success, as well as get them motivated and sell insurance, And,
But that same motivation, that same discipline can be used for anything in life.
yeah, because they use it in every aspect of their life, you see. He speaks on not just the business aspect of motivation and success, but he talks about, the things you need to do within your life. He's a close friend of Mr. Joe Dudley also.
Mr. John Ray.
And Mr. Ray, yes,
Yeah,
of the
another
Majestic
great
Eagles.
motivation speaker.
Yeah, he's good too. Yeah, so Mr. Charles Scott, he actually motivates people into doing what it is that they like doing best and selling insurance. He's a good person at heart.
So that discipline can be used for anything. There's someone else also who inspires you very much. Who might that person be?
Oh, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very much inspired by the message and the uplifting, positive message and motivation of Minister Farrakhan, because he's saying to black people, look, you got to do something for yourself, you know?
And he's not a sellout. I love that part about him.
Yeah.
He's sincere.
I remember watching a speech when he said, black people don't need favor from anybody but themselves. He said, when you know who you are, you make your own favor. He said, the same sun that woke up other folk woke you up this morning, so get up and do something for yourself. And I like to say, I did this poem as a tribute to Mr. Farrakhan because I am very inspired by him. And it's simply called The Wake Up Call, Final Call, tribute to Minister Louis Farrakhan. Wake up to the truth and simply unlock your mind. Those who heed the final call are those who know the time. Nothing comes to dreamers too weak to stand tall. Nothing comes to sleepers who dream much too small. Wake up to who you are. The handwriting's on the wall. Wake up and smell the coffee, for this is the final call. Ain't nowhere to run, nowhere to duck and dodge. Everywhere you look, Master Charlie is still in charge. We gotta wake up and stop looking to everybody else, for what we truly need is a new sense of self. Wake up to who you are and simply unlock your mind. Those who heed the final call are those that know the time. Beyond the shadow of all we've been through, an unconditional love of self is somewhere deep inside of you. Wake up to the truth of who you are. The handwriting's on the wall. Wake up and smell the coffee, for this is the final call.
Oh, that's wonderful. I like that.
It's a little play on words also because, the final call is the newspaper that's put out by the nation.
By the Nation of Islam.
Very inspiring.
Very informative.
Yeah, very informative. Yeah. And you get the kind of news that you wouldn't get in, say, the Washington Post, some of the other major papers. They leave a lot to be desired where we are concerned.
I highly respect the Nation of Islam. They've done a lot in the community that, like you said, you just don't hear about on the news, on TV. You read their final call, you'll know more about it. Even mentioning, excuse me, Dr. Alim Muhammad, who has done this thing with the AIDS.
Yeah,
and the Kimron.
Yes, he was on with us a while ago.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything about that in the mass media at all.
And it surprised me because that's a major breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
Yeah, breakthrough, and they haven't said anything about it. you know.
Well, it's a breakthrough for us, but for other folk, you know, they may not see it as.
And that's why they haven't said anything.
Maybe that's why they haven't said anything. Because they know about it. And I thank God for the Capital Spotlight, also very good paper in the community, because they've always been very progressive in the black community. And I read the Spotlight. It comes out on Thursday, and like, if I don't get my Spotlight, I'd be mad.
Lost.
I call down there and ask Barry, where's my Spotlight, you know? But because I look forward to each week, because the news that they have, the type of news that they have, is so informative and so pertinent.
And
that
helps build you to realize that, great, you know, we're great. There's a lot that we're doing out here as black people.
And there's a lot that's being kept from us that these papers seek out. And so that's very important in the community also. What are some plans for the future that you have?
Oh, well, I have several plans. The business that I run, I have plans to head up in different areas like California, New York, New Jersey. I had plans to deal with children, help tutoring kids, getting them excited about learning and school and knowledge, but more importantly, to bring to them black history. You know, way back, you know, not just the Martin Luther King type of thing, but to bring back that black history that they need to realize that, you know, we've done things since the beginning, you know.
You like working with children?
Yeah, I love working with kids. I really do.
Why? Why is it that you're so impressed with
They're
children?
so innocent.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell you exactly what they feel. There's no falsehood and fakeness with them. They're sincere. And that's what I like dealing with.
You like doing it for the children?
Yes.
Brings me to another piece that we have here from my book, Wings of the Whirlwind. And it's simply entitled Do It for the Children. The Black Children's Institute used it on their calendar this year and has done very well all over the country. And it's simply entitled Do It for the Children.
Okay.
And then in the love of every man, woman, boy, and girl, you can find the key to the heart of the world. For each and every one, gotta find a better way to do what some say just can't be done. Do it for the children and all that you do and say. Do it for the children. A lifetime of love gotta be a better way. Do it for the children. Teach the children the truth. The innocence of a child is the seed of truth for all to see. Teach the children the truth. They're the fruit of the family tree. There's so much that the world needs that there's just too little of. But all we really got to do is give a little more love. Do it for the children. Do it for the children in all that you do and say. Do it for the children. A lifetime of love gotta be a better way. Do it for the children. Teach the children the truth.
I had to applaud you on that one. That was excellent. I like that.
And the Black Children's Institute used that on the calendar, and it went all over the country, and we've had people calling, you know, for permission to use it. Non-profit organizations have quite a few, matter of fact, I would say 7 or 8 from all over the country. Just recently, out of Tennessee, you know, some folk called me. I'm like, Tennessee, okay. And they saw it, and they wanted to use it because it was very appropriate for some of the programs that they have there.
And that outreach, you know, it just taps into the kids, dealing with children. Sometimes we just forget that kids are there and we just deal on grown-up issues and adult issues, but they're the future.
But you know, when the children nowadays, they have so much that they have to deal with, because it's not like maybe when you and I were kids.
Peer pressure.
You know, peer pressure. The peer pressure nowadays is just, I guess, probably 20 or 30 times greater than it was, say, when we were coming. Because society has changed, so children have to deal with so much. I mean, kids have to be grown so quick. I mean, they grow up so quick
fast.
because they're forced to grow up so quick.
The environment and what they see and what they hear. You know, whereas when we were little, sometimes you sit around with your parents and they go, oh, don't say that, or go upstairs, you can't hear that. Nowadays, it's all out in the open. Everyone hears everything.
I remember my grandmother used to say, y'all go on and play now. You know, grown folks are talking.
Yeah,
you know,
get on away from here now. You know we're talking now. You come in here later.
Yeah, so it's like, and it was like that when I was growing up. You know, I also remember growing up as a child that we had extended families, and we don't have extended family in the same way that we had.
That is so important. The family and the neighbors, they were like, you know, your family members, the neighbors' parents would look out for you, and if you did something wrong, they'll spank you just as your parents would. But you knew that love and that care was there. You knew that you couldn't just do what you wanted to do just because your mother wasn't there. That Miss Jones was looking at you too, you know, and was going to give a good report when your mom get back. That is very important, because nowadays a lot of people are isolating and thinking that, well, I'm only going to worry about myself. I have my own to worry about. Instead of the togetherness, the generation, the family coming and taking apart as a whole. You know.
That's very important, because, you know, when you think about, you know, way back when, if I could say that, it was so different that when I think about it, you know, people say, well, were you poor? Well, yeah, I was poor, but I didn't think about it.
You didn't realize you was poor.
I didn't think about it as such, you know. Where I lived, it was like maybe 40 of us kids, you know, and like my aunts lived right next door. And there was so many of us, it was like one big happy family, you know. My parents went to work and they would watch us, you know, as children. We all did everything together. I mean, they'd beat you and, you know, feed you and everything, just like
That's right.
their own kids. And we had that sense of family, that sense of community. But I think that's a carryover from our tradition, even in Africa, that goes back.
Oh,
Because they say it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Just the togetherness and a bond and a knowing that that care and that love is there. And that's what I think a lot of kids are missing, the fact that they're not loved, you know. Superficially on the surface, yeah, that's my mom, she loves me, but they don't realize that deep down inside that, you know, if I spank you, it's because out of love. If I don't have you to listen to this conversation, it's out of love.
My mom used to spank me like that too when I was a kid. She used to say that, you know, it's because I love you. And I used to say, I wish you loved me a lot less, because this hurts, you know.
Right?
Wendy, how can we get in touch with you for those who, you know, want to get in touch?
I represent 20th Century Partners, which is on Capitol Hill, 236 Massachusetts Avenue, Northeast, Suite 400. Washington, D.C. 2002. My office number is 202-543-4300. And feel free to call anytime.
In the last few seconds that we have here, what would you say to people to, you know, just to motivate them, just to keep
Get excited about life. Take the actions, the necessary things that's needed to be done. Definitely make a plan and work the plan all the way through. You know, don't stop because you just, you know, had a success portion of whatever you're working on. Go all the way through. It's not over until it's over. Till the whole entirety of what you have planned out, mapped out is done. You know, to go to Virginia, you can't stop halfway and say, I'm almost there. You have to complete going, or else you're not in Virginia. So that's how your map and your plan must be.
That's important because a lot of times we start things and leave it hanging, you know.
Oh, I did good so far. Let me take a break. Let me rest a little bit. And then that downside.
You know, somebody wants to ask Mr. Dudley, you know, when you going to retire? He said, you ever seen the birds retire? You see the squirrels retire?
Exactly, right?
He said, oh, I'm not going to pick any more nuts, you know, today. No.
You don't have to retire.
There's no such thing.
Life is so wonderful. You don't need to retire.
And life is an endless learning process. I say life is something that you graduate into, but never graduate from. I certainly thank you for being here on Color Me Portrait with us, Wendy. And we're looking forward to you coming back and motivating us. In this last few seconds, I'd like to introduce something new, a new feature that we have here on Color Me Portrait, the book reviews. We'll be doing Book of the Week each week. And, you know, each book of poetry. This week, we have 3 books that's going to be on our list, and that is Wings of the Whirlwind.
All right,
and
excited.
Yours truly.
Danny Queen.
Doing very well now. And also, we're in Walden's bookstore now. So you can go there and get it.
Great.
Pyramid as well, of course. And then we have another book by a sister. It's called Path to Power, The Making of a New African. Words by Iraka Rondadu. Very beautiful book. And we ask that you buy all these poetry books, that you support the arts. And that's the reason that we have this program in the first place. And then thirdly, we have another young lady who was on with us some time ago, and it's called Word Magic, her book, Praise Songs and Other Poems, and that's by Abner Walker. We ask that you buy all these books and go out and support them, if you will. This is Danny Queen, it's Color Me Poetry, and until next time, Color Me Poetry.